Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. I decided that we should talk about something like procrastination tonight. I thought we should talk about procrastination and to really explore it because a lot of times we don't think about if we're procrastinating. We don't think if we're holding ourselves back. We have a tendency of procrastinating when it comes to our calling, when it comes to our purpose, when it comes to almost everything in our life. And I have a tendency of procrastinating when it comes to dealing with specific people that I might be a little stressed out about being around, about not knowing maybe how they're going to communicate, but better yet, how they're going to respond. And I think that people procrastinate for various reasons, whether it's like you don't want to deal with conflict, whether you feel as though this will actually get figured out. And sometimes that does happen. But sometimes we do it because we don't really want to deal with our future, with what's planned in front of us. Maybe we're okay, we have a good beat on things right now, and we kind of go, well, what's going to happen later on? If we do figure out something, we'll have to actually follow through. Because I think a lot of times while we're procrastinating, we have a tendency of maybe feeling a little more free because to a degree, we really don't know what we're supposed to be doing. And so it's not a big deal that we're not doing it. So a friend of mine right now Mark joins me tonight. We're going to talk about this because I think it's near and dear to both of our hearts. So you were talking earlier off the mic.
Yes.
We were talking about procrastination. And, my theory about procrastination is ideas versus doing. That everybody's writing a screenplay mentality. Everybody's writing a screenplay. You go to LA and it's like everybody's writing a freaking screenplay. Okay, and you're like, dude, is there anybody not writing it? But what's funny about it is most of these screenplays are only like they've gotten page 1 done, or maybe they've done one act or one chapter. You know what I mean? But most people, they're writing it, meaning it's in their head. They haven't even bothered to type out anything. But I think that it goes back to the procrastination thing. So tell me, where in your life, Mark, do you find yourself procrastinating more so than anything else?
Well, for my experience, I've always envisioned having my own business, and it's something that I've known for a very long time, and I find myself in the situation where I haven't gotten there yet. And my question to myself is, why not? I know I have all the skills. I know I have all the potential to do it. So, like I said, I asked myself, why am I not there now? Why am I not there now? So just reflecting on it, I've kind of looked back and I've understood that it's procrastination. That's the answer to all those questions that I'm asking. It's just I've procrastinated. And I feel that for myself and for many other people, the reason that we procrastinate is that we're looking so far into the future that we feel like it's so far away. And we feel like we have all this time. And again, it's I'll do it tomorrow, But then you start to realize it's been 2 or 3 years and it's still not tomorrow. And you're like, Jesus, tomorrow was 2 years ago. Why haven't I done it yet? So I just feel like it's kind of just realizing that it starts with today. It's getting those things done today, starting small or just starting, doing anything, but just working towards that goal now and then just seeing results over time, not expecting it to just start on its own.
So you said that it roots back to the concept of it seems like there's so much time.
Yeah.
Like the future seems so vast and so far away. Why should I start now? I think that goes back to the mentality that a lot of us have, too, about life is that it's not until it's too late that we realize that we've kind of, squandered our life. You know how when you see people on their deathbed and they go, all I wish I could have done was this, this, and that. And they've come up with these stupid movies. I mean, I don't mean to say stupid, but the concept of the bucket list, I really don't like that word. But anyway, it's like people have to actually have a bucket list nowadays in their life to actually do what they want to do before they die and actually define it as kicking the bucket list. But it's like, why do you think, let's talk about it in a human condition. Why do you think that we feel that there's so much time?
I feel like it's a lot of the illusion of the future. And, as many philosophers believe, the future is just an illusion. It's not really there. We have to live in today. And when we feel like, it's almost as we think that it's not going to happen yet. Like it's impossible for it to happen. Like that's something that's going to happen to me later. When in reality, it's something that can happen to you now. And the more you wait, the longer it's going to take for it to happen. So just I always read and study a lot of the guys who have actually started early. Some guys have started early as 14, 15, selling stuff door to door. That's how most guys that are billionaires nowadays, that's how they got their start, selling door to door, like even being homeless at points, but not ever stopping, just starting young, just continuing being consistent. And eventually one thing led to another. They start expanding, they start growing, and next thing you know, they're looking at their today and they're like, I just made $1 billion deal. So, and it's not even about, making money. It can be anything. It can be like, I want to be an Olympic boxer. The day you decide that, it's when you start training. The first day you step into the gym, you've started your journey. And if you're consistent, over time, you can achieve that accomplishment. But if you never go to the gym, you never start, you never sign up, you're never going to be an Olympic boxer.
That's true. If you don't ever go to the gym, if you don't ever push yourself to do something that you want to do, you can never be it.
Exactly.
It can be a dream. And then I think a dream normally turns into what? A regret.
Yeah.
When we don't follow our dreams, we regret the fact that we didn't follow it. I mean, do you have any... I mean, I know you're pretty young, as far as age is concerned. I mean, you're not like in your 50s. You're not in your 40s. You're not even in your 30s yet. So life's pretty young for you. And you're in a good spot, but do you feel any regret from anything that you've done in the past or haven't done so far in your lifetime?
I do. I feel like I wasted a lot of time early on. I was very rebellious in high school, and I kind of just wasted a lot of time trying to embrace that side of me, which was not really me. It never really was. It was kind of this facade, and more than facade, it was this idea of myself that I had that I was just a rebel. But in reality, I could have channeled that into something way more productive, which was rebelling against the typical dream of going to college and graduating and just starting early, learning about business at 16, 17, like a lot of these guys have done. And just, I feel like I would have been in a completely different place, but I didn't do that.
Why did you feel like, and I asked this because I had a little bit of this too when there's a part of me that felt that way a little bit. Why did you feel like you should be the rebel at that point?
When I was in school, I always saw this kind of, everybody's expected to kind of do what they're told. And if you don't do what you're told, then you're kind of like a bad kid. But in reality, I kind of like looked at it and I was like, what they're telling me to do doesn't make sense. So why should I follow it? So I feel like there was also a lack of like an outlet for me to go to where, hey, you don't have to do this, you can do this instead. There wasn't any of that. So I had to choose my own path. And the only path I saw available was the kids who were getting in trouble. So I was like, okay, let me try this out. And that let me try this out turned into 2 or 3 years of wasting time, getting in trouble, hanging out with the wrong crowds, when I could have been, hanging out with kids who are at Silicon Valley right now, who started at 15 developing apps.
I understand. And it's interesting. It was, I was one of those kids in high school. Just a little background on me for anybody that's listening. I was in the top 10 in the nation in debate, and I went through that process, and I debated nationally beginning in my 8th grade year in middle school. And I had really good grades and what have you as well. And so I traveled all over the United States debating. Anyway, long story short, I really feel like I kind of had like a midlife crisis beginning in the spring of my senior year. And, I was debating at all these tournaments and I was doing all this stuff. And it just like when I finally got done, I just kind of lost it. And what I should have done is I should have taken a little bit of time off and I should have maybe like gone into a junior college. But I was like, I hated debate. I didn't want anything to do with debate. I applied to all schools that didn't have debate. I mean, and I worked my whole career basically doing this. And, I got accepted and I got dean scholarships to places that did not have debate. And once I stepped foot in that school that I finally chose, I hated it. I had made a really, really bad decision. I had made a decision that was going to stick with me, and it sucked, and I didn't like it. And there was a part of me that became this rebellious person because I was like, I can't believe I worked so hard and for so long for something that I threw away. And it wasn't going to be an easy fix because I knew the only way, I mean, I kind of looked at it as two ways. The only way I could ever leave there would be to get straight A's and to try to convince my parents to get me to move. And I already knew they were not really happy with my choice to begin with. And the second thing was just screw it. Screw it. You know what? I mean, you work this hard and you know what? Oh, well, you know. And so there was a period of several years where I was barely going to classes, and, I was pulling C's, and I was doing it because I was upset because I made a bad choice. And I think there's a lot of people out there right now who can resonate with what we're talking about, either in the fact that they don't want to do what they're told, and the fact that it doesn't make any sense, or in the fact that they made a mistake and they don't know how to backtrack it, and they're stuck. And so what do you do when you're stuck? A lot of times we come out fighting. We don't think about it in a logistic way. We don't think about how to legitimately get out of a situation. Instead, how do we think about it? We go, how do I fight to get out of it? And what can I do to get myself out of this place right this second? And that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's this quote by Steve Jobs that I love. And he said, I have looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? Whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Now, I love that because I feel like that's how we should think. If something doesn't feel right and we're not happy in today, there's something wrong. And I feel like the perception that a lot of people have is that they can't do anything about it. Like, this is my destiny. I'm stuck here. This is what is meant for me. When in reality, you can really make drastic changes. You can stop one day and just say, just forget it all and just start something new and just really take your chances. And people who have done that in the past, there's stories of like rags to riches or whatever, people who have like done amazing things from those decisions where they just quit their job one day. And I'm not advocating quitting your job, but if that was what your gut was telling you, maybe that's a decision that you need to analyze, because a lot of people who have done that with an actual purpose and plan have gone really far from it. And as far as procrastinating, it's like some people come to that point where they're like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to stop doing what I'm doing and get there. The question is when. Next thing you know, it's been 2, 5, 7 years and they're still in that job that they hate. And they're still talking about one day I'm going to do this and that. But they never do it. And I feel like that's one of the biggest problems, because a lot of those people have all the potential. But as one of my friends said, who moved to LA, he said, there's many people in the streets of LA sleeping on the ground that have potential. So
yeah, potential is different.
Yeah.
Everybody can have potential. It's just what you do with it, right? And I think that's the case. And I like how you put that, because I really do feel that everybody has the ability to do what they want to do in a certain way. I understand that some of us have very big dreams, and at the time we're working with what we can. And I get that there's some people out there working 3 jobs to put their kids through school, to do things, and they're not really happy about, cleaning the toilets at the mall or cleaning people's houses as their second or third job. And I get it. But at the same time, they focus on what they need to do to get to that next level. And I think that a lot of us are in those different types of stages in life. And I think some of us are in that stage where we are just surviving, where we're doing as much as we can, we're surviving, and then we get to another level eventually where we can see the forest through the trees, and we realize that we do have a greater purpose. However, we still have to do this to survive. And then some of us are at that level where they've done everything that they need to survive, and now they're on the point where they're focusing on their purpose 24/7, and they're able to, financially, physically, mentally, emotionally. And then you have those other people that are at that next level. And it's like you kind of look at it, and I think everybody's in the right place at the right time for the most part, but I think the change and the difference with the procrastination issue is when we procrastinate ourselves right out of living. When you have years of your life where you really can't look back at that with any sort of nostalgia. When you look back at some of the life, and I've lived that before, and I've been there before. I've had a couple of years where, yeah, some of the times were fun, but for the most part, most of it was a blur. And that wasn't, I learned from that, but I do feel like I wasted time. And I feel like everybody in this world has wasted some time or another. How much time, I don't know. But I think that procrastination stops when it starts to become painful. when your stress level gets out of control because you're not doing anything. When you look around and you realize that you're probably missing out on the best years of your life. But basically, procrastination to me is sometimes when we're avoiding what we have to do. Because it's easier to look away sometimes and say, you know what, if I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, and if I don't know my purpose, if I don't know that I have to act this way. And, for example, with all those kids out there that scream and yell at the Target trying to get mom to buy them something, and they're like, Mommy, buy me that, and you hear these kids screaming and mom's yelling back at the kid and all this stuff. But eventually the kid knows that they're not supposed to do that. And it's kind of like the same thing with us. Eventually we know that we can't keep living a life that we're living because, ignorance isn't bliss. Eventually, ignorance isn't fun anymore. Eventually, we know that there's more behind that, and we know that there's like door number 2. And there we are standing there procrastinating to open door number 2 because we're scared sometimes of the responsibilities that we have, but also sometimes I think we're scared of what the future holds and how much do we have to do and what are we called to do, but better yet, can we do what we're called to do?
Yeah, one of the things that really affects me is, like you said, there's people that are in that situation where they're just surviving. I know many people going through that kind of stuff. You meet them on the daily, there's people out there who are having to clean houses, who are having to do this and that. And a lot of them feel like there's no hope, but there is. And I feel like that's the biggest misconception. Like when you're in the situation, it's hard to see the positives. But I feel like if you have somebody on the outside coaching you, kind of like, in sports, you always have a coach on the outside because it's harder to see from inside. So if you have somebody outside telling you, hey, look, there is this outlet. There's a difference here. It's like a different perspective. You can do this. You can do this differently. It kind of gives those people, I feel like everyone has a way. I feel like no matter how difficult, no matter how, like I don't want to go into specifics, but I mean, there's people who have had like 7 kids. I know this lady who had like 7 kids and was just struggling. She was working like 2 jobs and she made an outlet and she started her own gym and facility and coaching and stuff. And now she's doing great. So I feel like there's always an outlet, and it's just kind of like being positive and finding those outlets and just emphasizing and setting yourself up for success. And not limiting yourself in your mind to where you think, hey, I can't do this, or I'll do this tomorrow, or maybe one day. Just kind of knowing that you can do it and just starting that day. The day you think of it, take a step forth.
I like that because I did a show. I think in the past, I think you've heard this show before, Mark. About how everybody gets the wake up call.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody gets the wake up call, and the reason why this show came about is because I've had several people come to me and say, "Hey, Ashley, does everybody get the wake-up call to their purpose? Does everybody have a purpose, basically, and does everybody have a chance to follow it?" And I said, well, yes. And they said, okay, explain. And I go, everybody has it because it wouldn't be fair if only a few people got it. And because we're all set up on the same equation, we all have to get it, right? We all have to get the wake-up call. But the only difference between the people that take the wake-up call and don't, or because some accepted it and some didn't. And there were times in my life when I heard the wake-up call, sure, and I detached the alarm clock from the wall. Mm-hmm. There were certain times when I got the wake-up call and I threw the alarm clock out of the window. There were some times when I didn't want to hear it at all. You throw the alarm clock out of the window and then you jump into your car somehow and run over it because you don't want to wake up. You're tired of this. You don't want to do this. I don't want to figure out my purpose. But you know what? There's a time when we all get that call, and some of us are getting that call now on a daily basis, and we're constantly ignoring it. At one point in time, are you going to stop ignoring it? Sure. At what point in time are you going to say, no matter all this stuff I have over here, I'm going to take this call? And like what you were saying, you said, a mother of 7. A mother of 7 kids. I mean, I just met a lady the other day, and she's got, I think, 6 kids and 3 with Down syndrome. And she has created a small little business for herself, and it's not that small. And how she did it was unbelievable, and that's for another show. But we have the ability to be extraordinary, and we have this ability to be just something amazing. And I think that once we eliminate self-doubt, because self-doubt is a killer to purpose. Anytime that we doubt ourselves, we doubt our purpose, it's a double whammy. We end up going home filled with regret. Okay, and let me get this straight. When I'm talking about purpose, not everybody's going to be a freaking rock star, okay? Not everybody's going to be on The Voice. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about purpose. Purpose, there's a plan. There's a divine plan for everybody on this planet. Now, whether or not you want to step up to the plate and accept it, that's for you to decide, because I can't accept your plan and I can't tell you what to do. And I think that sometimes when we procrastinate, however, I wonder if the plan is not ready yet, but I also wonder if we're not ready to take that. Because I think there's a time and place to take that step. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there is a time and place for everything, and sometimes it's all about timing. And like I said, sometimes it could be the best decision of your life, but if you don't take it at the right moment, at the right time, it might not turn out to be that. It might not be the best decision ever. So I feel like understanding your timing and knowing what your gut is telling you, like, this is the time to do it. When your gut tells you that, I feel like that's your soul telling you that's what you need to do. And a lot of people don't listen to that feeling. A lot of people just kind of ignore it and say, no, this is what I've been told that I should do. I know a lot of people who, graduated from college and went and got the good old career, and they're making lots of money, and they realize that that's not what they wanted. That's just what they were told they should do. And that really drove me away from that thought, because I don't want to be in that situation. So by hearing that stuff and knowing that that's not what I want for myself, I didn't just follow what everyone else was doing, because I'm setting myself up for failure if I do so. So I feel like it has a lot to do with guts and like being brave and just kind of saying like, no, I'm not going to follow what everyone else is doing. I'm going to follow what my gut is telling me is right, and just taking a chance. And when I say taking a chance, it's not a wild guess, like, I'm just going to do this. It's actually doing your homework and analyzing your life and analyzing how the world is today and tomorrow, and just making a strategic plan of what you're going to do. And like Mark Cuban said himself, I never take risks. He said, I never take risks. People tell me, oh, you're such a good risk taker. He said, no, I'm not. I don't take risks. I do my homework and I analyze every decision that I make so that I end up not taking risk. And I feel like that's a really good idea, because if you study your decisions and you make good decisions, you don't have to worry about risk. All you have to worry about is timing. It's like, when am I going to do this? Because I have to do it. Like, there's no way I can't do this.
I agree with you, and timing is everything. And I think really, while we're wrapping up tonight, and this was another off-the-cuff show, and I think this is a really cool off-the-cuff perspective show, because I think this delves into the real things that we're all dealing with. And I think first off is we both agree that regret sucks. The last thing I want in my life is a lot of regret. I've written lots of blogs on that, and it's really awesome. The last blog I wrote on that was second to the Wikipedia definition of regret. And so I get it. I understand regret pretty well, and I have clients that come into my office all the time dealing with regret. And the last thing you want is a boatload of regret to deal with. And so the first thing is to really, like Mark was saying, follow your gut, follow your heart. Listen to yourself telling you what you need to do, what you should be doing. And I think that's the first and foremost. And if we don't listen to ourselves, guess what? There's a lot of regret there. The next thing is that you have to remember that ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is not bliss. It's the opposite of whatever they tell you, because you can't get your life back. You can't get the time back. You don't ever save up. I hear people all the time saying, well, I took a plane because I'm saving up on my time. I'm saving my time. Well, you're never saving your time. You can't save time. You can't save time in a bottle and have it up on the back end. You have to use this time, and you have to use it wisely. That's why people talk about wasted time. That's why people talk about, buying time, wasted time. There's a whole burning time. I mean, think about it. We have to realize that time, there's only a finite amount of it. And because there's a finite amount of it, we have to look at every day as a present, as a gift. That's why they call it the present day, because it's your present. FYI. So if you look at it that way and you realize that every day is a gift, you understand that because you got this gift, you must be a unique individual. Not only must you be a unique individual, but your purpose must just be as unique as you are. So if you actually do your homework, open your mind, maybe do some prayer. What about some meditation for you that don't like prayer? And for the prayer people, you're not into meditation, pray. It's kind of a similar thing, okay? Anyway, so you start doing that and you start focusing on things and you start clarifying your life and you start taking all the negative stuff out of your mind and you start organizing your mind and you start putting everything together and start realizing who you are. Once you figure out some of that purpose, it's going to come full circle. You're going to find it, you're going to be it, and you're going to love it. And that's the key here. And that's why we did today's show, is that we want you to just really focus on the fact that you have a purpose. So that question's been answered. There is no you don't have a purpose. So you do have one. So yes, you do have one. So you know that you can look for it because it's there. The next thing is that it's unique and it's going to be individual. So that also means that just because Mark's purpose is one thing and my purpose is something, that our purposes might not have anything to do with yours, okay, because we're all unique and we're different. So that's an answer to a second question you might have. And the third question I think that you might have is, where do you begin? And I think that you have to begin within yourself. And you have to begin with writing and journaling and how you feel and the things that matter to you and the things that, make you smile and the things that make you cry. And I think you got to focus on those things and figure out what matters to you and what do you value and how can you take what you value and take it to the next level. And I think that's what you're going to do. Hey, Mark, I really appreciate you joining me tonight.
Thank you, Ashley.
And are you going to work on that procrastination?
100%. I'm really tired of feeling like I'm missing out on something. So I hope that that's what I end up doing. Just start.
How do you think you're going to start?
Well, I already started. I just decided a few days ago that I just had to. So I had a bunch of savings, and I kind of just what I started doing is networking and talking to people looking for potential partners. That's my first step. So that's what I'm working on now.
So you're being proactive. So for everybody out there, become proactive. Listen to yourself. Make your own decisions and realize there is no exact formula. It's your own formula, and you can create it and you can make it. And guess what? You're going to amaze us all. Stay tuned. I have a great show for you next. And Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back this time. In 3 shakes.